Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Aparna, working as scientist in MFPI Food Quality Control Laboratory, Professor Jayashankar, Telangana State Agricultural University, Hyderabad. Today, we are here to learn about chemical and functional properties of minerals in foods. In addition to the organic compounds like proteins, carbohydrates, fats and vitamins, our food also has small amounts of inorganic compounds called as minerals. They are also called as elements. And these minerals, they play a very vital and functional role in the health and nutrition of humans. In the context of food and nutrition, the minerals may be defined as elements other than carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and nitrogen that are present in the food. They are present in relatively very low concentration in the food. About 25 of elements which occur naturally on the Earth's crust are known to be essential to life and are present in living cells. Further, our food is derived from living plants or animals and therefore the minerals also are expected to be present in the food. The mineral elements can be divided into two groups on the basis of their amounts in the body. The major minerals are found in bulk concentrations in the body, while microminerals or the trace elements are present in very low concentrations. In terms of their biological roles, the mineral elements are divided into essential elements which are known to have biological roles, and then non-essential elements with unknown functions and also toxic elements. Sodium, potassium, phosphorus, iron, calcium, zinc, selenium, manganese, copper, tin, cobalt, magnesium and fluorine, etc. are the examples of essential elements. These function as electrolytes, as enzyme constituents, as building materials in bones and teeth in the human body. Boron, aluminium, mercury, lead and cadmium are not essential elements. Of these, boron and aluminium are non-nutritive and non-toxic, whereas the rest are nutritive toxic elements. However, aluminium and boron in excess quantity can be toxic. Coming to the chemical and functional properties of minerals and mineral salts and components in the food. We will discuss the minerals alphabetically. The first one is aluminium. Coming to the aluminium sources in the food, they are very low and variable sources of aluminium in the food. Some of them come from antacids and leavening agents also. The functions of aluminium include, it is an essential nutrient or possibly essential, but the evidence is not conclusive. Deficiency of aluminium is not known till now. Aluminium is used in the leavening agents. It is also used as a texture modifier. Coming to the next element, that is bromine. Bromine comes into the food system through brominated flours. Coming to the functions of bromine, it is an essential nutrient, but the essentiality is not proved in the human beings. Bromine is used as dough improver. Potassium bromate improves baking quality of the wheat flour. Coming to the next mineral, that is calcium. It enters into the food chain through dairy products, green leafy vegetables, tofu and in the fish bones. It is a very essential nutrient and deficiency of calcium can lead to problems like osteoporosis, etc. It also acts as a texture modifier. It forms gels with negatively charged macromolecules like alginates, low methoxyl pectins, soy proteins, caseins, etc. It also firms the canned vegetables when added into the canned brain. Coming to the next mineral, that is copper. Copper comes into the human body through organ meats, seafoods, nuts and seeds. Functions of copper include, it is an essential nutrient, but the deficiency is very rarely reported. It acts as a catalyst in lipid peroxidation reactions, ascorbic oxidation, non-enzymatic oxidative reactions. It also acts as a color modifier and it can lead to causation of black discoloration in canned meats and cured meats. It also acts as enzyme cofactor as polyphenol oxidase. It also acts as a texture stabilizer and it stabilizes the egg white foams. Coming to the next mineral, that is iodine. Iodine can be found in all the fortified salts, etc., iodized salt, etc., in seafood, in plants and animals which are grown in area where the soil has got sufficient amount of iodine. Coming to the functions of iodine, it is a very essential nutrient and the deficiency of iodine can lead to problems like goiter and cretinism. Iodine is also used as a dough improver. Potassium iodate improves the baking quality of wheat flour. Coming to the next mineral, iron. Iron-rich sources are cereals, legumes, meat products, etc. It can also come as a contamination from usage of iron utensils and soil-enriched products. It is an essential nutrient and deficiency of iron can lead to anemia, impaired immune responses, reduced worker productivity and impaired cognitive performances also. Excessive iron also is a problem and excessive iron stores can lead to increase of cancer and heart diseases. Coming to the usage of iron in the food applications, it acts as a catalyst for catalyzation of lipid peroxidation in foods. It also can be used as a color modifier for improving the color of fresh meat, which depends on the valence of iron in the myoglobin and hemoglobin. It also reacts with sulfur ions to form black ferrous sulfate in the canned foods. It also acts as an enzyme cofactor in lipoxygenases, cytochromes, ribonucleotide reductases, etc. The next mineral is magnesium and it comes from whole grains, nuts, legumes and green leafy vegetables. Coming to the functions of magnesium, it is a very essential nutrient, though the deficiency is rare. Magnesium is used as a color modifier and removal of magnesium from chlorophyll changes the color from green to olive brown. Then the next mineral, that is manganese, and manganese rich foods are whole grains, fruits and vegetables. It is again a very essential nutrient, though the deficiency is extremely rare. It can act as enzyme cofactor like pyruvate carboxylases and superoxide dismutases. Then coming to the next mineral, that is nickel. It is present in almost all the plant foods. Again, it is an essential nutrient, but the deficiency of humans is unknown till date. It acts as a catalyst and it acts as a catalyst in the hydrogenation of vegetable oils. Nickel is used as a catalyst in the hydrogenation of vegetable oils. Coming to the next mineral, that is phosphate. It is present in very small quantities. Animal products tend to be good sources of phosphate. It is an essential nutrient, but the deficiency is rare due to the presence of phosphates in almost all the foods. It is in the food industry, phosphate is used as an acidulant, especially in the soft drinks. It is also present in the leavening agents, which acts as a fast-acting leavening agent. It also is used in moisture retention of the foods, and it also acts as an emulsifying aid. Especially phosphates are used to aid emulsification in the meat products, especially the comminuted meat products and also in the processed cheese. Then we have the next mineral, that is potassium, which is present in fruits and vegetables as well as meats. It is an essential element, but the deficiency is rare. It acts as a salt substitute. Potassium chloride can also be used as a salt substitute. It can cause bitter flavor. It is also present in the leavening agents as potassium acid tartarate. Next mineral is selenium. It is present in seafoods, organ meats, cereals, and the level of selenium depends on the soil nourishment or presence of selenium in the soil. It is a very essential nutrient and deficiency of selenium can lead to Keshan disease, which is an endemic cardiomyopathy problem which is mostly seen in China. And low selenium status may be associated with increased risk for cancer as well as heart diseases. It acts as an enzyme cofactor in glutathione peroxidase. Then we have the next mineral, that is sodium. It is virtually present in almost all the food material. It is present in sodium chloride, monosodium glutamate and other food additives apart from milk, etc. And it is also present in almost all the raw food materials. It is an essential nutrient and deficiency is rare, but excess sodium consumption can lead to problems like hypertension. Sodium acts as a flavor modifier. It also can act as a preservative. It also is present in most of the leavening agents, and many leavening agents are sodium salts. For example, sodium bicarbonate, sodium aluminium sulfate, sodium acid pyrophosphate. Then we have the next mineral, that is sulfur. It is very widely distributed all through the nature. Though it is an essential nutrient, a constituent of essential amino acid. Sulfur is an essential nutrient and it is an important constituent of sulfur-containing amino acids, that is cysteine and methionine. Sulfur also acts as a browning inhibitor, as sulfur dioxide and sulfides, both of them inhibit both enzymatic as well as non-enzymatic browning reactions in the food. It is widely used in dry fruits. It is widely used in preparation of dried fruits. Sulfur also has antimicrobial property which prevents and controls the microbial growth in most of the food matrices apart from its usage widely in winemaking. Then we have the next mineral, that is zinc. It is mostly present in meats and cereals. It is an essential nutrient and deficiency of zinc can produce loss of appetite, growth retardation, skin changes, and marginal deficiency is unknown. Pronounced deficiency was documented in some populations of Middle Eastern countries. Zinc oxide is used as lining for the cans and for proteinaceous foods to lessen the formation of black ferrous sulfate during heating. Zinc can be added to green beans to help stabilize the color during the canning process. There are some factors which will affect the mineral composition of the food. Many factors interact to affect the mineral composition of the foods, and so the compositions can vary greatly. The first one is factors affecting the mineral composition of plant foods. In order for the plants to grow, they must take water and essential nutrients from the soil. Once taken up by the plant roots, nutrients are transported to other parts of the plant. The ultimate composition of edible parts of the plants is influenced and controlled by the fertility of soil, genetics of the plant, and other agroclimatic factors. Then the next one is factors affecting the mineral composition of animal foods. Mineral concentration in animal foods vary less than mineral concentrations in the plant foods. In general, changes in the dietary intake of animal have only a small effect on the mineral concentrations in meat, milk, and eggs. This is because homeostatic mechanisms operating in the animal regulate the tissue concentrations of essential nutrients. After understanding the factors, let us now look at the effect of food processing on the minerals. The freshness, appearance, and nutritive value of the food changes when they are stored for a long period of time. People in the food industry work for procedures which make the food retain their nutritive value even after a very long time. The conversion of raw food materials into acceptable food product by a variety of means and formulations is referred to as food processing. The technique followed include various methodologies like dehydration, freezing, heating at high temperatures, low temperatures, exposure to radiations, fermentations, chemical preservations, etc. Processing of food has an advantage as well as disadvantage, both of which results in desirable changes like enhancement of flavors, improvement of texture, and increase in the shelf life, etc. However, it may lead to some undesirable changes also. These include changes in color, flavor, nutritional properties, and development of toxicity. This affects to some extent all the components which are present in the food. Minerals are comparatively stable under food processing conditions like heat, light, use of oxidizing agents, and extremities in the pH. Therefore, processing does not usually reduce the mineral content in any kind of food or food matrix. However, these minerals can be removed from the foods by leaching or by physical separation. Cooking in water would result in loss of some minerals since many minerals are significantly soluble in water. In general, boiling the vegetable in water causes greater loss of minerals from them as against steaming them. Canned foods such as fruit juices may take up metals from the container or the tin or from the iron tin plate and the tin and the lead from the soldering. Hence, it is essential that the foods may be packed in the glass containers. During cooking, sodium may be lost, but other minerals are well retained. Many selenium compounds are volatile and can be lost by cooking or processing. Further, it has been found that milling of cereals can cause considerable loss of minerals. Since minerals are mainly concentrated in the bran layer and in the germ, during milling and after removal of the bran and germ, only pure endosperm remains, which is very poor source of minerals. For example, when wheat is milled to obtain refined flour, the loss in mineral content is up to an extent of 76% in case of iron, 78% in case of zinc, 86% in manganese, 68% in copper, 16% for selenium. Similar losses occur during milling of rice and other cereal and millet products also. As discussed above, the minerals are quite stable to heat and at extreme pH conditions during the processing. However, change in temperature, pH and concentration or dehydration can lead to change in the status in the food system. For example, in milk, 1/3 or 1/4 of calcium and phosphorus is associated with casein, while 66 to 80% are present as dissolved calcium and phosphorus. On heating these minerals, change from the dissolved to colloidal state happens. On the other hand, cooling of milk shifts the colloidal calcium and phosphorus to dissolved state. Decrease in pH from the normal value towards isoelectric side will cause solubilization of these minerals, while an increase in pH will cause a shift of colloidal calcium, magnesium and phosphorus to the dissolved state. The minerals in meat products are in non-fatty portions. When liquid is lost from the meat, the maximum loss of sodium and calcium, phosphorus and potassium are lost to lesser extent. During cooking also, sodium is lost, but other minerals are well retained. In fact, cooking dissolves some calcium from bone and enriches the meat with this mineral. Coming to fortification. Why do we really need fortification and what are the types of fortification? Let us learn about the requirement of fortification. There are a lot of interventions in practice which makes up for the loss of nutrients in the food. These are in terms of supplementing the food for the lost components. Nutrient supplements are added for various reasons. The first reason is to maintain the nutritional availability of the foods. Second is to provide the adequate level of nutrients in the food. Third reason is to impart additional nutritional value to the food. Nutritional supplementation obviously means adding nutrients to the food. It is generally achieved in two different ways. The first one is enrichment. It refers to adding nutrients to the food so as to maintain the amount that was present in the food before its processing. The next one is fortification. Food fortification has been defined as the addition of one or more essential nutrients to a food, whether or not it is normally contained in the food. Vitamins and minerals are the most commonly used fortificants. Let us see some of the food fortificants. Salt is always fortified with iodine and iron. Flour, bread and rice are fortified with vitamin B1, B2, niacin and iron. Milk and margarine are fortified with vitamin A, D, iron and calcium. Sugar, monosodium glutamate and tea are fortified with vitamin A. Infant formulas, cookies, etc. Infant formulas and cookies are fortified with iron, vitamin D and vitamin E. Vegetable mixtures and proteins are fortified with vitamins and minerals. Soy milk and orange juices are fortified with calcium. Ready-to-eat cereals are fortified with vitamins and minerals. Edible oils and sugars are fortified with vitamin A. So, food fortification is very useful to all the people. Food fortification is very essential to all the people who generally belong to low income groups and face malnutrition due to deficiency of minerals or vitamins or any other macronutrients. Food fortification has been very successful in eradicating diseases like goiter, which occurs due to iodine deficiency, rickets, which occur due to vitamin D deficiency, beriberi, which occurs due to thiamine deficiency, anemia, which occurs due to iron deficiency, etc. And most important aspects which should be borne in mind while carrying fortification in large scale is that the food which is selected for fortification should be a staple food. The fortified nutrient should have favorable physicochemical and bioavailability characteristics. It should also be economically viable, and a large number of factors like the solubility, stability of the fortifying agents also affect the fortification, and the stability depends on pH, light, temperature besides the packaging material. So today we have learnt about the various minerals, their sources and their applications, their physiological roles, and we have also seen what happens to these minerals during processing and the ways and means to fortify the minerals and other nutrients in the foods to enhance the mineral content in the foods. Thank you.